Hi, I'm Matt Le Tissier, and I used to play football for Southampton and England a few times. And I first met Mark Zambarda many years ago, and it was through a mutual acquaintance of Chris Akabusi. Me and Chris were flying up to do a question of sport together back in the day, and we were just talking on the plane and mentioned about injuries and things, and he just said to me, he said, if ever you have any problems with any muscle injuries, he said, you have to contact this guy I know. He said he's absolutely brilliant. He will get you back to fitness quicker than any man, any physio that you've got with your football club, guaranteed. So I was like, okay. So I had a lovely chat with him. And then a couple of years later, I found myself struggling with a thigh injury. I tried to come back from the injury a couple of times and broken down in training, couldn't quite get the injury right. And after the third time, I think it was, I suddenly thought, hang on, what did Chris Akabusi tell me? So I gave Mark Zambarda a ring, and I'll never forget, he came down to my house in Southampton, sat on the sofa. Mark was on the floor and he was having a mooch around on my thigh muscle, trying to find where the injury was. And after about half an hour, he was getting a bit frustrated because he couldn't quite find where the right injury was. And he just said to me, you know, what were you doing when you first injured this? And so I showed him what I was doing. I was actually taking a penalty in training, and I showed him the shape that my leg was in when I struck the ball. And so he kind of put me into that shape, my leg into that shape, and he kind of went down underneath some muscles in my thigh, and he just pressed his finger in, and I just went, whoa, what is that? And he found the spot that was injured. It was just, his thumb was right on it, and I was like, whoa. And he went, right, I found it. That's great, we can do something about this now. And sure enough, he worked on it, went into training the next day, you know, started my rehab. Running was pretty good. I got back into training within a few days, and I made it onto the substitutes bench for our next game, which was away at White Hart Lane on Boxing Day. And so I sat on the bench, and I think we went 2-0 down in about 25 minutes, and the manager thought, right, get you on. So I went on, and within a few minutes scored a goal, got ourselves back into the game at 2-1. Sadly, we couldn't find the equaliser, but no, it was all down. And I went then, didn't have any problem with that thigh again. It was just brilliant what Mark had done. He's a fantastic man and a genius when it comes to that kind of injury. I just thought it was just amazing what he did in such a short space of time, where my physios for the last probably 6 weeks or so previous hadn't been able to do anything, and within a few days of seeing Mark, there I was back in the Premier League scoring goals. Genius, the man.